community, but in the broader automotive logistics community. So happy to share some insights, at least as we see them here, from our perspective, from a technology standpoint, as we work with a lot of different stakeholders in the industry, as well as along with many of the participants in the room here. So thanks to all who we do have a relationship with. Happy to see you, happy to speak with you. And for those that don't, pleased to make your acquaintance and love to connect after the webinar here. But just a quick update on the agenda here. So just it's not going to be a RunBuggy commercial here, but just a quick update on who we are. So we've got a funny name. Just an overview on the industry as we see it through the lens of transport, specifically in security and theft. And like Tony mentioned, Max and Oleana here have some great insights to be able to add to the commentary that I'll go through as we look at things really from a physical vulnerability standpoint, but also the virtual and digital vulnerabilities that are out there, not just in repo, right, but through the larger ecosystem here. So part of this is a little bit of education and perspective sharing on how the industry is as we see it and where it's kind of moving to. Part of that is sharing the insights that we have from working with the lenders. Right? We work with a lot of different companies, from grandma that wants to move her car from New York to Florida for the winter, all the way up through the biggest lenders and our enterprise customers that are out there. So we have some perspectives as it relates to the procurement relationships, the contracting relationships, the complexities of working with dozens, hundreds of contractors that some of these big companies go through, and just the practical points of working with them as it relates down to the agent level. And then we have some specific insights on what we think are consumable items that everyone can do on this call, whether you're an agent, forwarder, another transport company, or anyone else in this ecosystem here. And then along the way, as Tony mentioned, please feel free to put your comments in the chat. If we're able to see them and have some help here with Max and Oleana, if we're able to see them and answer them in the moment, great. If not, then absolutely we'll address them as we go through the presentation. Tony introduced us, Max, Jason, and Oleana here, along with our glamour shots. Go ahead and write down my email. If you have any questions, you can always get a hold of me if you don't already have a relationship with our team, or through one of the secure channels of communication that you're already doing business with us. So I'll put that back up at the end. So I promise this wouldn't be a RunBuggy commercial, but there are people out there that don't know what RunBuggy is, who RunBuggy is, what we actually do, even for the folks that are in this industry. So just a couple quick visuals on us. We're a tech company that connects car shippers. So think Toyota Financial Services, Toyota dealers, Toyota customers, car shippers, and car transporters. So we've onboarded about 17,000 transport drivers around the country, vetted them. They download and use our app. In our core business, which we call the marketplace, where someone needs a car or many cars moved, they connect with the transporters on a platform. We kind of moderate that entire transaction as we need to. Cars get delivered, we pay the transporter, turn on charge the shipper, clean system, and you move on with life. Some of you may not be aware that we also take some of that core technology that's in our marketplace, and we have some customers using what we call Hitch, if you've ever heard that term. It's basically a white label version of our marketplace. So we stand up a private version of the software. Companies can use all the tech, all the security, and have common data and security that goes along with it, but manage their own partner relationships. So their own pricing, their own dispatch to whoever they want to, vet their own transporters however they want to, just consistency from the data and security standpoint. So that's what our two products that we have. So I know this is repo focused here, but we're in repo. We do a lot of business with some of those logos in the bottom left here, but our platform is used for a lot of use cases, both in the US and Canada. And since we work with a lot of big enterprise companies across all these different verticals, from new car to repos to home deliveries, we have a pretty good bird's eye view of what's happening. And I think importantly for this audience, the requirements of working with some of those big entities. Okay, so Security and theft, big problem. Everyone on here, I'm assuming, has gotten the bulletin from ARA not too long ago, who I commend for drawing attention to the problem. It sparked some good conversation with ARA leadership, and actually is what led to this webinar. There's a couple of good call outs in that email that went out that I want to dig into a bit today and give some background. But there's a couple points in there that I drew out there, right? Clients in directing these actions to the repo agents, right? Hey, try to work with clients and coordinate 100% of the transport directly. Right? Good in theory. We support actions where the repo agent is moving the transport directly. So other things that were called out, hey, somewhere in this chain, in this whole transportation ecosystem, the relay store is being intercepted, manipulated, and some transport or someone shows up with seemingly legitimate documentation. And these are the areas that I want to dig in today a little bit more on this call, right? And reinforce a lot of the bolded points that the area already called out to all the members here about vetting, about documentation, confirmation, stopping if something doesn't feel right. And I think the biggest piece that's relevant to this continuing education series is, hey, we got to keep talking, educating all stakeholders involved, because it is a complex problem and situation that we're dealing with a lot to learn from everybody and for everybody here. I would say that as we zoom out and look at this, it is a much bigger problem than just repo or remarketing. So I know that instant reaction is getting the countermeasures on things, but before we can do that, it's really helpful to zoom out and look at the scope of the problem so we can see where the big issues are. Right. There's a couple of headlines and screen grabs, all recent, about this issue here. And it's not limited to the repo space. It's not limited to the dealer space or the consumer space, which are also getting hit. But it's really economy wide, right? From cargo and freight all the way through the entire supply chain, involving some of our partners on the OEM or lender side of things. Threats are not limited to theft. These bad actors that are out there are hitting multiple points of vulnerabilities in the ecosystem here. So before we talk about countermeasures, we got to kind of zoom out and look at all this and understand kind of the driving points from some of our biggest partners that are out there. So from the time a car comes out of the factory, the new car sales process, the ownership cycle, resale, end of life, a car might get moved via transport maybe a dozen times, right? And so if there's 16, 17 million new cars sold every year and maybe 40 million used cars sold every year, it's adding up to hundreds of millions of units in operation, right? So it's much larger of a beast to be able to manage than one car, a couple dozen cars, 100 cars, 1,000 cars on an individual stakeholders lot here. The bad guys are looking everywhere they can to see where there's a weak point, right? And so when you look at the security industry and business, right, there's no silver bullets that are out there. You really have to look at things comprehensively. It's a very complex problem, multiple vulnerability points, and a comprehensive approach is really helpful. So the security posture that we take, there's a framework that's out there, and it's illustrated by that icon at the top here, of what is recommended for a company to take a look at in terms of your networks that are out there, the information, how you manage it, and really the systems, right? The collection of people, process, technology, and policies that are out there, and how do you harden them to make sure that you're able to react proactively and defend your company as things evolve and change, and what are your capabilities to do so? So I think just to distill it, right? The more that you can overlap different layers of security and have redundancy in your systems, it really allows you to manage risk and vulnerabilities a lot stronger here. Again, nothing is foolproof. There's no silver bullet that's out there. But what we've seen time and time again is when the bad guys look and they start to see a multi-layered approach here, they go say, you know what, it's a lot easier for me to go down the road motors and go look at some other business or entity or industry where security is an afterthought. Okay, so are these guys coming after the 2023 Corollas that are all beat up on your lots? Absolutely not. We're dealing with a professional crime organization here. It's multinational, it's global. They are targeting very high-end vehicles that are worth a lot of money. So I know this group has a lot of energy focused on the day-to-day engagements with the debtors, and you guys already know how to handle 99% of security and the hardened, the physical security issues that are out there. So I want to spend our time today on these guys, the professionals, and they're targeting high dollar vehicles and the methods that they are looking for vulnerabilities out there. So start thinking about vulnerabilities and breaking down the buckets, right? So there's the physical vulnerabilities that are out there, you know, penetrating those traditional methods of getting a car, you know, like smash and grab, etc. I'm not going to spend too much time on that. Where we see the most activity today is the exploitation of weak points, and again, in the people, process, policy areas, and a scary amount of vulnerability probing in technology, right? With the bad guys from all over the world looking for opportunities of all sizes. And since this group is involved, you probably realize that you don't have to be the biggest of the big to get the attention from the bad guys. They're increasingly looking at smaller businesses that are out there because they know small and medium-sized businesses are less likely to invest in technology and have a lack of trained people or processes. Okay, so let's look specifically into the remarketing transport ecosystem here. So we have a good basic lay of the land. A lot of stakeholders here. They're all connected. Right? It's important to map this out because the bad guys, again, are not limiting themselves to repo or to dealers. They're opportunistic and will look for vulnerabilities anywhere and everywhere that they can. So as such, countermeasures need to be thoughtful of all the players that are out there. So you got the lenders, working with the forwarders, obviously repo agents moving assets to the yard. A network of transporters, either you know them, you don't know them, maybe they have a relationship with the auction or a transfer broker. They move the car, they get paid, you get paid, cars get moved to the auction, and the cycle goes on and repeats itself. In the middle of all that, right, tying everything together is technology and you know, moving the asset itself, right, where companies like Montway or RunBuggy or anything coordinated by the auction might come into play. Also, obviously, a number of systems that are out there that coordinate and tie things together: AutoIMS, RDN, MBSI. All these systems secure, interconnected, and help to coordinate hundreds, thousands, millions of transactions throughout every year here. So today, I really just want to focus in on with the limited time we have on these relationships, the repo yards and agents that are out there, the transporters, and how everyone interacts with this ecosystem here. So this is really starting with the centerpiece here, the coordination of all that transport. Let's step back in time. Well, this could be actually yesterday, could be a couple decades ago. It's not a space that's seen a lot of investment from a technology standpoint. Even though there's been some pretty recent attempts at modernization, it's still very fragmented. OEMs, some of them are still using, you know, AS400 systems. We see it still today. There's a lot of manual processes, a lot of communications, faxes, emails that are out there, and still a lot of folks in the space will use, you know, paper record keeping. So lots of fragmentation, lots of inconsistencies, not a total standardization around how people communicate. Okay, well, some conversation about, do we need all this stuff? Do we need to modernize? Do we need technology? Well, if you're going to work with the biggest of the big, the lenders, right, enterprise, you're gonna have to, right? Because you have to invest heavily into technology and into security. Um, the biggest of the big require all this stuff. It's table stakes to work with them, right? There's huge hurdles that you have to clear when you want to, if you're a business and you want to work with an enterprise-sized company, especially when it's a bank. They have requirements that they have, and requirements that then extend to all of their partners, all of their vendors, to protect the customer at the center of the transaction here. So that means they require vendors to meet a very, very rigorous set of standards and certifications, from policy and technical standpoint, all the way through extremely high limits on cyber insurance. Okay, so if you want to do business with one of these guys as a company, you have to invest in this stuff. Why? Okay, and this is when I first saw something like this from Max. This was very eye-opening to me, right? This is what I mentioned about international sophisticated criminals. This is a screenshot of interactive, have it at the bottom there, interactive IP connections that we actively monitor, right? Looking for threats, looking for potential adversaries that are out there. There's activity coming from all over the place. Okay, it's not just the guy that's down the street here. We see international IPs, international actors here looking for threats all over, right? And so, if you are going back to this example I showed earlier, if you're an enterprise-sized company trying to manage risks across the entire company, not just one department, you start to have your procurement department, cybersecurity departments develop company-wide protections, policies, requirements for every vendor of every business department, every service they do business with, because those bad guys will look for any backdoor to come in and cripple a company, right? And so they would love to get their hands on the biggest of the big to try to stop them and force some sort of ransom. So just again, zooming back out, as long as that lender is doing business in this ecosystem here, and there's millions of transactions a year, hundreds of millions of units in operation, technology is going to be used in some way, shape, or form. Technology is not going away. Okay. So we take a number of steps to harden the technology piece, and there are a number of other companies in the middle of all this that take steps to make sure that's a very robust, secure process. And so what happens as companies like us are investing heavily into the ecosystem, criminals move to identify and exploit other weak points in the system, specifically failure points in people who unwittingly turn over really valuable information to them, wittingly or not, that can be used against them or others in the ecosystem. Okay, so I'm going to move on and talk a little bit about transporters. But before I do that, Max, any other comments that you might have about the technology piece that we've seen out there?
Yeah, I think you had all the major points. Even with now the introduction of AI, right? This is definitely not going anywhere. It's only going to get worse in a way, if you will. And as all these companies are trying to innovate, this will be obviously pushed onto all the suppliers, all the entire supply chain, and so forth. So no, absolutely right. And this is here to stay.
Okay. So let's dig into the transporter side of things right now. Okay, so what's happening out there? So this is not new. There's been a number of YouTube videos, articles. Just to level set here, what's happening is that we see is that some transporters out there, right, most of them, most companies are trying to do the right thing, right? But sometimes double brokering will happen, where a transporter might say, "Hey, I don't want to do this, I can't do this," and they'll put it out on some load board somewhere to try to get some other transporter to move the vehicle. Sometimes that includes identifying information about that pickup location, drop-off location, the vehicle itself. Transporters, if they're not using the authorized systems and processes that are in place 100% of the time, this opens themselves up and opens the ecosystem up for the bad guys, and from a vulnerability standpoint. So they're out there monitoring things, probing for weaknesses. Oftentimes they'll have fake profiles, impersonated credentials, etc., out there, seemingly looking like a legitimate company. Sometimes they'll get that information and they'll monitor the pickup location. If it's a weak, if they identify their weak processes there, we've literally heard about a desk manager at a dealership just handing the keys over to someone that says, "I'm here to go pick up the Lamborghini." "Okay, here you go," and hands the keys over. Obviously, the bad guy will pick that vehicle up and take it wherever they want, usually on out to the port, and it's on its way overseas somewhere. So that's what the bad guys do. But then they also, what will do is they'll get that information, and if they don't want to show up themselves, if they're not brazen enough to show up themselves and pick up the keys, the other common issue that will happen is they will then post a similar load with the same vehicle, same pickup location, but a different drop off, and some unsuspecting transporter say, "Oh, I will do that." They'll go pick up the order at the pickup location, drop it off at the bad guy location, being none the wiser, right? And the vehicle disappears. So that's probably those are the two most common scenarios that we see that are out there. And if the pickup location isn't involved in creating the order, oftentimes they're clueless about the whole thing. Okay, so that's a situation that we're seeing. Okay, let's take a look at the repo yards here. From a physical vulnerability standpoint, again, looking at physical, people, process, policy, and the technology. On the physical side of things, we were talking a little bit earlier today, the repo volume that we see coming and that you all see coming, that pipeline is growing probably to the unprecedented levels here in the very near future. So that's great for a repo agent who has a lot of business coming in. Not as great for the overall economy, but what that means for your own operations is that unless that throughput of transportation increases, you might need more offsite lots, right? Which means more complexity, a lot more barriers, a lot more things that you have to secure, right? So making sure that from a physical security standpoint, you have the surveillance, you have the alarms, you have the lighting, all that in place, super important. That you guys already know that. What often gets overlooked is with that complexity comes, if you don't have a proper system in place to manage the information, manage paperwork, etc., that opens the door for vulnerabilities that are out there from a PII standpoint, right? And so making sure that, just a reminder, you gotta have to be able to manage that. I think that where we start to peel back the layers and the people, process, policy standpoint is that there's a tremendous amount of investments and training in the systems that are out there. I mentioned that circle in the middle here. You have to use those systems that are in place 100% of the time, communicating through the secure platforms that are out there, using the technology that's already in place that is secure. When theft happens, when breakdowns happens, it's because those systems aren't being used, right? So, for example, right, if ClearData here, right, has the most current information updated in the system, I know there's a number of transport companies that are able to use this information. It triggers the transport process through secure integrations that are out there. Again, not introducing the information out to external parties through unsecure platforms, doing it all through the secure ecosystem. Super helpful and protects all involved here. Similarly, making sure that transporters are making appointments through the secure platform. The scheduling only allows one transporter at a time, so it prevents the double booking that could occur that's out there. And so exactly the transport company that's going to be picking up the car. So making sure that your policy is followed by your own internal people and anyone that's working with you 100% of the time, very critical to protecting your business there. I'd say when these companies come to pick up the vehicle, sometimes what we'll see are paper bills of lading or something that looks put together. By now, if you're a modern transport company, you have your own branded technology, right? It's not something that looks like, or it's not a piece of paper. It's not something that looks like it was put together in a science project. You could tell that it's a company that you work with on a regular basis. Make sure you trust those and use those apps. Sign the bill of lading in the app, not on a piece of paper. Because on that top right there, very easy for me to go Google, oh, let me go get a transport company logo off of Google and let me put together a bill of lading, put that together and just go show up somewhere and say, I'm here to go pick up this car, right? Do not accept paper bills of lading. And as sophisticated as transport as some of the bad guys are, there is often a breakdown in the consistency at which the information is provided or not provided. So make sure that the information you're getting is complete, it's clear, it's consistent across everything that you're seeing across different systems, from what you're seeing from the forwarder or the lender in the system, and what you're seeing, does that match the destination, the vehicle information, the shipper, that's showing up and being presented by the transporter in their official documentation. I would say sometimes there is an unsuspecting transporter show up and say, I'm here to pick up the vehicle, and the destination is somewhere that looks funny to you, right? That means it's going someplace that might be accessible by a bad guy. In this ecosystem, right, everything, but for the most part, it's an auction, right? So it should be going there, not to some Kmart, down the street there. Verifying the transporter. Most of the transport companies that work with the lenders do this, but I think it's also great for the agents to make sure that aligning and evaluating the transporter, the driver, with the DOT information that shows up in the various online forms or from the transport provider all matches, and it matches what's on the truck as well, right? Does the driver's license match the driver that's shown in the record in the system here? Within the company profile, how long has this company been in service? Did they just pop up 2 weeks ago and are here to go pick up an exotic car? Or have they been around for many, many years? You can see the ratings and complaints in a lot of different situations and a lot of different forums and formats. I think the one that everyone has access to, it's free to use, FMCSA. You can just pop in the DOT and get information from that database there on any transporter that comes to pick up a vehicle. Also, really critically, despite your relationship with wherever the transporter is, if something comes in and there's a request to change the information of where that vehicle is going or what the vehicle is, don't just say, okay, no problem. Go back and make sure it's changed and updated from the original source that it came in from, not from that manual direction from the transporter there. Also, to make sure we're holding all the partners and stakeholders accountable in this ecosystem, from the auction to the lender and forwarders and transport partners. Hey, we got to make sure that reputable, insured, vetted partners are the ones showing up here. And I think the biggest thing, it sounds kind of trite, but we got to communicate. When in doubt, you got to say something, because these guys really take advantage of the breakdown in communication and the timeliness of communication. They are on a race to beat the pickup location or whoever, the drop-off location, whoever notices something's wrong. They're on a race to beat that person to the port or to the location, get this car on a boat somewhere. So time's of the essence to notify your partners, notify the FBI, who actively is tracking and working in this space. We have a relationship with them, communicate with them when we see these types of things. It's important for you to write these things down and be willing, able to notify everyone as quickly as you can. Okay, some very specific things that you can do as an agent or someone that's on this call here, right? So we do see, just from a basic hygiene standpoint, a lot of mismanagement of the credentials that are out there from access to these systems. So people, employees come and go, totally get it. If they go, their access to the systems have to go too, right? So it's a good habit to make sure that you're going through a regular auditing process, and part of your onboarding and offboarding is removing access to systems there. There's no sharing of accounts. Everyone has to have an access, has their own account, has their own license to whatever systems that are out there, so that things are not being shared. You have better visibility, insight into accessing sensitive information. Unfortunately, a lot of password and login information is out on the dark web. Max and I were talking this week, like we've seen it. There's probably people on this call that we've actively seen your information as recently as this week on the dark web, access to systems. So change your password, limit your password sharing. Take these things, really take them to heart, because that vulnerability is out there. That action may not be today. It could be tomorrow. It could be a week from now. It could be a month from now. So go ahead and change your passwords. I threw this resource out there, and we'll follow it up with the chat. We understand that not everyone has the resources, the time to build or energy or want to build a system or platform that is as robust as it needs to be to serve enterprise. You're small business owners and you run small business. There's some great resources like this site out here that puts together plans and steps that are really consumable, bite-sized actions for the small business owner to harden your systems here, right? So you can grow into protections regardless of your current state. There's always something you can do that's consumable, easy, and then step into the harder things as you grow and go along there. And then specifically, right, going back to the initial call out by ARA and something I mentioned earlier here, hey, sign up directly. I know we've talked about this at some of the conferences and meetings out there. Sign up directly with the transport brokers that have a relationship with the lenders and forwarders you work with. I know with us, with RunBuggy, there's no charge to do that. I'm assuming it's very similar with some of the other companies out there. Sign up with them to either do the work yourself or recommend a transporter that you know and trust yourself. We're still going to vet them, right? We're still going to put them through the paces, but at least for us, and I'm sure Montway and others can do the same thing too, we'll give them preferential access to the orders, right? If you don't want to do them, then your preferred transporter would do them, right? Can do them. So for us, you can sign up or complete your profile on runbuggy.com/repo. And you can also fill in the hours of accessibility, your preferred appointment setting process, all that information goes along there, as well as designate your own transport company or your preferred transporter that's out there for your lot. And our team will work with you to make sure that all those connections are in place. Similarly for Montway, Dave and I connected earlier this week. Go ahead and email Jack. His email address is there if you want to work with Montway. And I know they work with some of the lenders that are out there. You can do that there. So just to kind of tie it off from a call to action standpoint, use the systems in place. They're there for a reason. It's there to make things easier for you, and it's there to protect you. Step up your own processes from a data hygiene standpoint, accessibility standpoint, working with your customers and other stakeholders, hold them accountable, move the cars yourself, set up your preferred transporter, and get those notifications, updates in the system directly. I can show, if anyone's interested, how we do that at RunBuggy, but every platform has a place to communicate that information, so you're not going off system. And I think most importantly, when you see something, say something. We've caught and prevented theft already, because repo agents have said, hey, this guy is showing up here representing themselves as whoever they are. Is this legit? No, absolutely not. And we've stopped things before they've happened. So it absolutely does work. So see something, say something. So with that, I really appreciate everyone's time. We'll take some questions. If there's any topics anyone wants to talk about, especially when we have Max and Oleana here, who are the real experts, we can talk about it.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, if anybody has questions, please drop your questions in the chat or in the Q&A, and we'll get them answered. Jason, I had a real quick question.
True.
So the list that you'd shown with the just the step by steps, I think it was along the lines of data hygiene,
Yep.
to dos. What would be if can you pull that back up? And I'm just
Yeah.
wondering, can you point out a couple of things that you think would be a good place for someone to start? It seemed like they were in that type of order, but just to try to drill down into maybe one, two, three things that someone can focus on that they'd be able to work on today.
This one right here.
Yep.
Yep. Max, are there any of these that you want to highlight? You think are worth highlighting here?
Sure. I think number one, it's the third one on the first bucket, is use strong, unique passwords. It sounds simple. You might have heard that, on other calls, but it is so true. It is one that just gets you in trouble. Rotating the passwords, making sure you use MFA. It's just so important. It's I would argue 80% of the online game, if you do that correctly. Then if you go more into the other controls, basic cybersecurity awareness. If it's just you, it's a little bit different. If you have a team, spreading the gospel of cybersecurity, if you will, making sure that people understand their roles and responsibilities. And then again, the third one on this list, having an incident response plan. It just means in case something goes wrong, what do you do? Again, if it's just you or you have a larger team, just knowing the steps and maybe practicing the steps at least once. Would I know what to do? Do I know who to call? When bad things happen or if theft happens, we get frazzled, right? And you might not do the things that you would normally do or in the order you would do them. So just practicing that. Um, if you get into the advanced stuff, if you do have, office infrastructure, if you have, people, teams using technology, it wouldn't hurt to just understand basic security concepts there. There are many partners out there that can help, just making sure that you use secured communication, your office infrastructure is secured, encryption is enabled, and yeah, just a Google search on basic, security settings and configurations can really go a long way. And then the last tier, you get into the more advanced items. That's really for if you have office infrastructure, you have a large team, you have different digital assets, cell phones, laptops, tablets, what have you not. You go into the more advanced infrastructure settings. There's a big concept that's super hot topic right now. It's on this list as well. It's called zero trust architecture. And it's essentially the concept that as you have different devices, people, there is a zero trust relationship to the data, meaning that every time somebody requests data or accesses something, that identity is being verified. So those are some more advanced concepts, but yeah, just to highlight a few. Again, I think the big point, strong passwords, make sure you have MFA enabled and you rotate passwords goes a long, long way.
Yeah. So just how we address that at RunBuggy. So we maintain zero trust architecture and actually use passwordless technology, right? So we've decided to take that off the table, make it just part of our system, right? So that we know, and it's a secure system from a accessibility standpoint with the device, right? So that's a big security component of ours.
Yeah, that's a gift, I guess, from
Yeah.
your vendors and suppliers if they have technology that just takes that out of the way, right? What we're saying is like, don't even worry about passwords. We don't use them. And that's a huge advantage. But obviously there is technology out there still with passwords. But yeah, that's absolutely right, Jason.
We got a question come in from Emily. From an eight, and I'll just read it.
Great.
From an agent standpoint, we are not seeing any of the theft issues being mentioned. we're seeing major issues with the transporters arriving to our yard that are contracted with the brokers, but are arriving to our lot in a passenger pickup truck and a U-Haul trailer to transport the unit. We also requested a transporter to sign our lot agreement last week, which includes sending us proof of insurance, and we caught the truck. We caught the truck he was driving wasn't even on the policy. This is too much on the agent to police these transporters. Why is this not being caught?
That's a great call out there, Emily. What I'd ask, at least how we can manage things, is that we try to maintain a profile again of every lot that's out there and what your requirements are. And if you want something that requires some vetting of the transporter, the truck, et cetera, we want to know that specifically what those requirements are, what those documents are, if you have something. And what we do is we enrich the order that comes from the shipper or comes from the lender or the forwarder with the specific lot requirements, so that before a transporter shows up, they know these are the requirements. I need to show up. Before I even show up, I need to provide this to the lot location. So that's how we handle it. If we don't have that information already, I'd love to get that. If you want to go on runbuggy.com/repos, give us all that information. We'll add it to all your orders. That's part of what I know what we're doing, and I've heard Dave Sutton kind of talk about this in other formats too. The more information that you have, the requirements that you guys have to share with us, we're able to build those into that security framework, and that's out there.
I just wanted to dovetail on what you and Max were talking about just a couple of minutes ago. Just anecdotally, it seems like there's been just a huge uptick in email phishing and text phishing. Are you seeing that as incorporated into the tactics for this this shipper fraud?
You want to take that, Max?
Yeah, I can talk about that. Yes, absolutely. I would say we still see more the traditional, just what Jason mentioned, faking information in paper format. But to answer your question, where this comes in is they want any way to get access to your accounts. And what most people think probably it's harmless, but they really want access to your email accounts. Why? If I have access to your email account, I can reset passwords. I can spread from there. Lots of people keep, juicy information in their email. So often the first instinct is actually, I want your email account, and then I can get to the system that I want anyway. And along the way, I get other stuff. And phishing, whether it's through email, text is great because think about it this way, companies invest a lot of money in email security. If you have a personal device, the text, it's really hard to monitor and we can't monitor personal devices. It's a privacy, right, thing. So text is great. And then you get into QR codes and all that. So it's just a really easy, effective way to get to the information and bypass the controls. And that's why this is just so prevalent. It's working well. And yeah, that's not going anywhere.
So best thing to do is, if you don't recognize it, don't answer it.
You don't recognize it, don't answer it. There are resources out there. And then if it does happen, we are humans. If you click on something, you suspect something, say something, get, help to get it fixed, because the longer it goes on, the worse it's only going to get.
Okay.
I want to go back to, or just make sure that, Oleana, if you have any added points to make to Emily's point, or anything around that I didn't address. Yeah.
Thanks for posing the question, Emily. One of the things that we've really tried to stand up here at RunBuggy is and it all goes back to communication, just keeping those lines of communication open. So if you guys have a transporter that does have the equipment you expect, does have the coverage that you expect, we want to know about that. We want to be able to set them up within our system so that you don't ever have anyone that you're not familiar with, doesn't have the right licensing, doesn't have the right insurance to show up on your lot. So absolutely appreciate you bringing that up. Let's connect and see if we can, you know, get either your transport set up or find who is your preferred transporter and get them set up so that we're sending guys to the lot that meet all of your requirements.
Thanks, Emily.
Yeah. So I don't see any other questions coming in. If someone has a question as a result and they just didn't think about it before we end, what is the best way to reach you? Looks like you just dropped your email in the chat.
I sure did. So you can always email me if you don't already have a relationship with our team. And then I threw in the chat as well, runbuggy.com/repo. That's where you can go to complete your profile, if you will, as well as indicate who you want to come pick up the cars. Emily will reach out to you as well directly to talk more about your specific requirements.
Okay. Jason, Max, Oleana, thank you so much. We really appreciate you taking the time out. Guys, in closing, just a reminder that the 2025 ARA convention is coming up. If you want to learn more about it, you want to register, you've got to register. It's free to attend for members, but if you want to register or find out more, go to repo.org/ARA-convention. I put the link in the chat. Okay. Thanks again, Jason, Max, Oleana. We will see everybody again, I think later on this month. I think. But just be on the lookout, and we'll get this replay up on the website hopefully by tomorrow. Okay.
Great.
Thanks again, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.